You might have heard in the user conference or the Dev Summit, Esri Dev Summit, or you might hear me in the talking about the versioning model or the new versioning model, ESRI new versioning model as being stateless, right? So in this episode, we will discuss what does that mean. Coming up. What's up, y'all? This is Hussein Nasser from iGeometry Podcast, and welcome to another Geodatabase Talk series. Yeah, in this episode, I would like to briefly talk about the statefulness of the versioning model or the workspace in general. So this episode will be dedicated to just explaining what we have today out there in the wild, right? So as a as the current versioning model or the current workspace geodatabase connection, right? So the current model is as follows, right? You would open ArcMap or Pro, okay, and you have an Oracle connection or Oracle database or SQL Server or Postgres or DB2, and you have a geodatabase there. You have set up a geodatabase, and you want to connect to that geodatabase. So you would establish a direct connect to that geodatabase. Obviously, you have to have the necessary database drivers in order for Pro or ArcMap to connect to that, correct? And then essentially what Pro or ArcMap does is they will establish uh, a TCP connection, a stateful TCP connection. And today we explain what what does that mean? What is the statefulness uh, aspect here, and why do you need to know about it in general? All right, so let's talk about it. So stateful. So when I establish a connection, there are packets that's going on, right? So first you might obviously put your username and password, and that is authentication, obviously, right? Before authentication, there's TCP uh, protocol stuff that happens before, which is like handshaking and a verification, acknowledgement, and then once the connection is established, then the 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 actual database logic driver kicks in here. Says like, hey, connect me to the database, and whatever the stream of binaries that gets sent will be sent, right? So you say, hey, this is my username, this is my password, this is the server I want to connect to. Go ahead and connect. And if there is an instance at the back end, you will basically get connected. Then you'll say, hey, you're okay, right? Thumbs up. Go ahead and do what you want to do. Then ArcMap will start sending queries. Hey, retrieve all the tables for this user. Hey, retrieve all the feature classes. When I click on this feature class, pull up the definition of this feature class. Let me see what's in it. Let me see the fields. Let me see all that stuff. So there's some queries going on. But these queries, right, are built upon the fact that you have already established a connection, right? ArcMap or Pro just relies on this connection to send its stuff, right? It doesn't authenticate itself every single time, right? It says, imagine like you can select blah from table. You don't have to like, hey, by the way, I'm user Scott, right? You don't have to say that, right? It's just like the database already knows that. There is like, think of it like a channel between the two, and that it's very stateful channel. The database knows ArcMap and Pro. And Pro knows that database. There's like a very specific, dedicated channel, dedicated connection that the client, in case this is ArcMap and Pro, starts sending stuff through this pipe, right? So this is a dedicated pipe, and then there is some sort of a contract that is established, right? And that contract says, hey, I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. Now go ahead and do that, right? So it doesn't execute, doesn't carry all this information with it. That's essentially a stateful. There is a state stored in the database that ArcMap from this machine is connected to me, right? And it's doing stuff. It's authenticated. It's good. You can trust it. If bytes are coming from that user, go ahead and accept it. That's good. That's cool. We know that guy or gal, right? So go ahead and accept those. So that's the statefulness about this. So as if you know me, I like to. I believe there's always advantages and disadvantages for anything you do in life, and this is one of them. So advantages of this. What is the advantages of any technology, anything you do? I think there is always pros and cons. I think. I don't know about you, but I might be wrong. So the stateful connection here, the advantages of this is as follows. Each request is pretty quick, right? Because I don't have to reteach the database server that, hey, that's me, Scott Tiger, right? I don't have to teach the server with each connection that, hey, it's me, hey, it's me, hey, it's me, execute this, hey, it's Scott, and please execute an insert in this table, hey, it's Scott, and also execute this. You don't have to do that, because there is, as long as you're sending through this connection, it's like a messenger, right? If you're going to the DMV, God, this is like a terrible example, guys, I'm sorry, but yeah, if you're like going to the DMV every single day because they won't renew your license, right? They will eventually know you, right? It says, "Oh, it's that guy again." All right, yeah, it's Hussein. Oh, yeah, come on in. Yeah, all right. No, sorry, we didn't fix your problem yet. So at one point, after a while, they know who you are. You don't have to present all your paperwork and your, I don't know, your visa status and all that stuff, right? Your passport. You don't have to show all that stuff because they know it. They have it on file. Like that, they have it on file is the key here, because there's a state and it's stored there. Okay, so they pull it out. Okay, all right. So that's statefulness. That's the pros of this. So it's the queries execute quote unquote faster because there's no overhead. So another thing, there is no overhead of establishing a TCP connection because the connection is there. So no overhead. That's good. That's good. That's a plus as well. All right. So is there a disadvantage to this? I don't know. Well, with the disadvantage to this is if you lost that connection, right? Let's say the DMV personnel got fired, God forbid, or just, I don't know, they moved them to another place, right? And there's a new gal there, and she doesn't know what the heck you are. She doesn't know who you are, right? So if you go there, who are you? I don't know you. I'm sorry, but I have already a connection with that guy. I had a connection. I had a stateful, meaningful connection with that guy, right? It says, I'm sorry, you have to deal with me, so you have to do it all over again. So I'm gonna reject all your stuff. So that's exactly what's happened here. So if your connection dies in the middle, like you lost network connection, that's it. That's it. The client cannot, or maybe let's say it's very hard for the client to reestablish authentication with the server, right? Because the connection is just lost, right? It will be very hard to pick up where it left out because it doesn't know, right? it doesn't know where it left out, right? So that's it. The connection cannot be resumed, right? So it's just maybe the client, if it's smart enough, it could be, but that's essentially, if it's stateful, that's the problem with stateful connection, because you depend on a state that is set on the server in memory state, right? And then if you rely on that state for a long time, right, that state might go away, and then the next request you send becomes unknown, essentially, right? Because it relies on a state that it doesn't exist anymore. So that's the thing. You're going to the DMV with with a hope that someone will know you there, right? And that's the disadvantage of a stateful connection. I'm really sorry about this terrible example. I don't know if it adds any value, but shoot me up on Twitter if you have any questions. HNASR. All right, guys. Yeah, let's end it today at the stateful connection. That's a stateful connection, right? So if you lose the connection in ArcMap or Pro, you're done, basically. You were in the middle of an edit session, you were making all these edits and you forgot to save, right? That's the idea of the versioning, the current versioning model. That's the limitation. It's like you were editing, you were doing all these edits, and then in the middle of the session you lost connection. I'm sorry, you just lost it. You can't resume that anymore, right? Because you just lost it. That connection is disconnected, right? So everything that you did without saving will be trimmed, essentially, right? And yeah, so that's one disadvantage. There's the advantage and the disadvantage. Branch versioning, or the new versioning model, the service-based versioning, solve this problem, the stateless, in a stateless fashion. That will be in another episode. You guys stay awesome. I'm gonna see you in the next one. Again, hit me up on Twitter, HNASR, or just go to my website, HusseinNasser.com. Just Google my name, you should find me. And yeah, ask me any questions. If you have any Geodatabase questions, I'll be interested to cover up in this podcast or any future podcast as well. I talk about Esri technology mainly in this podcast, but I talk about software engineering in general in my YouTube channel, so check that out as well. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. You guys stay awesome.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.